Hey, so just to make a quick video, uh, I did have the good luck today. Today is President's Day to get out and play golf. Another 9 holes on a gorgeous day. Really, it was very bright, almost a clear sky, but very bright and slightly hazy. And so I got out to play at Sly Fox Golf Course in, I think it's Front Royal. I believe it's Front Royal or somewhere very close to Front Royal in Virginia on I-66. You actually pass right by it if you drive out I-66. By the time you get to almost before you get to 81, you'll see the sign there on the right. And that course is about a mile maybe from Blue Ridge Shadows, and the course was so busy. Everything was really busy today. I don't know. Everyone was thinking like today is a holiday, President's Day. Let's get out and go play golf. So I was lucky to even get in 9 holes, as they wanted to stop selling tee times at one o'clock. you know, I guess the thing is that I've played that course many times. I don't know, maybe a dozen times, I guess. And one of the things that I've noticed is that it's a pretty challenging course, both off the tee and tee to green. But it's not really a big, it's not one of these nice, fancy country club courses. You don't see any big fountains or a giant clubhouse or really nice tee boxes or stands or anything like that. They have the twisted signs. It's just got the sort of the normal concrete or I guess granite, uh, slabs that have the tee marker on it and so forth. Maybe a picture of the hole, but it's still a pretty challenging course. I would say it's about a slope 135 course, and it's one of those courses where you have to really be able to play to shoot anywhere, 80 or below. Thank you, sir, whoever that was. Shoot, to shoot decently on it. And as such, I think it's a great warm-up kind of course. It's a great practice course. Like many of the courses in the DC area, in the Nova area, a good warm-up course. Not something you're going to write home about, but it's still a good course. And of course, one of the things about this course is it has a lot of houses, sort of near the course. You certainly aren't going to be out anywhere where you're not going to be seeing houses, except maybe on the 17th or the 17th hole. I think is one of the few where you won't see any houses, but they aren't really in on your face, kind of in your face kind of thing, except for I think it's the 6th hole, which is par 3 right next to a house. The green's next to a house, and the 7th runs right behind a row of houses, or is the 8th, 7th, the 7th and the 8th, and then before then the 3, 4, 5 run down the front of a row of houses. Then 6, 7, and 8 run on the back of a row of houses. So I didn't shoot the front side. I actually got lucky, got a hole to shoot to start on the back side. So I made this video of the back side, and I made a couple of videos of Sly Fox before, but for $20 to play the 9 on a Monday on a holiday, that's not a bad rate. It's one of the good things about this course. It's usually pretty easy to get on. It's usually a pretty challenging round. It's usually not too slow, and it's just not expensive. It's got a nice little clubhouse and a nice facilities there. Basically, they don't have a shower or anything like that, but it's still a decent course. And I like going out there to play because it's such a good value and it's such a good course to play. And the people there are usually pretty friendly, and it's a low key kind of outing to play golf, as opposed to going to Blue Ridge Shadows, which is both significantly more money and also a significantly more longer course, certainly a little more challenging, and it certainly has a lot more road noise on it than Sly Fox does. As the half of the back and half of the front of Blue Ridge Shadows are on Route 522 heading north, parallel to 81. So it's just a different feel. Now, I've gotten to the point where I can make these 4K videos in a few minutes now on my old laptop, my old A8 laptop, which was really slow compared to even an i5. And now they are being made even faster on a new computer that I got, which I think is nice to have. I got one with 64 gigs of RAM, and it just lets me do all the video editing and image editing that I want to do without any trouble. So the only thing that I really had a problem with today, and it's really kind of odd because you get good at something, or at least decent at something, you know, whatever it is, okay, you get decent at it, and you get to a point where you start to realize that there are, you know, here and there are a couple of problems that stick out. And one of the problems of taking shots with the Sony DSC-RX100 M2 that I had was that I've noticed that... All right, it's late at night. Come on, these guys running by all night, jagging their cars and whatever. You guys will be out here drag racing at 2 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, so the point is that ultimately what happens is that I will go out and take shots of a course with the RX100 M2. And out of those 50 to 100 shots that I take, you know, I will get at least one that has a bad focus. And usually, and with my, you know, it's Hobson's choice or whatever you call it, Murphy's Law, usually it will be of a shot that I really wanted. You know, like the jewel of the crown, you know. And what I've learned with this course is if there's, with this camera, is if there is a shot that you really want to take multiple shots, multiple exposures, multiple focuses of it, because it's so painful to go out, drive out for an hour, pay whatever, take your time, 4 hours, whatever, take pictures, whatever, and then one of the pictures comes out that's not good, that you really wanted, you know. Out of all those pictures, like, yeah, it would be really nice if I gotten this particular picture, but no, the focus was off. So, sure enough, that happened. I noticed that the last picture that I took of the 18th green was fairly out of focus. But then I went and looked at the other shots, and I would swear probably out of the last 5 holes, maybe one shot out of every hole was out of focus. So, on number 15, the tee shot was out of focus, which was bad because it was a great, nice shot to take, picture. The other shots coming in were not really out of focus, but they were, I just kind of, like, I didn't think that they were really in great focus, but actually looking over them one at a time, they didn't come out badly focused, but just a strange shot. You're shooting more or less into the sun, not directly, you know, the sun is maybe 15 degrees off the line of the camera lens, and of course, you know, 20 to 30 to 40 degrees above you, but that's still enough into the sun where there's reflections and so forth in the lens, and there's no, you know, UV filter or something in this camera. There's no obvious way of putting one on this camera. And while it does have pros and cons, it is one of the cameras that I can carry out on the fairway and put in my pocket, take a shot, and not worry about it too much while I'm playing, which is nice. And it is a fairly flexible camera in the sense that, you know, you can easily change the F number and the shutter speed. It does have a live histogram and all that stuff, so it does function well as a basic camera. I mean, if you can shoot it, program aperture, whatever, you know, or I usually shoot manual, and you know, it's fine. It seems to have pretty much everything that you would need in a pocket point and shoot that can shoot RAW. which is also got manual control. And there's two problems with it that I think stand out, and especially compared to my DSLRs. I certainly know there's one or two problems. I'd say a problem and a half. The first half problem, what you'll notice on just about every shot, every time you turn the camera on, the lens comes out. You take your shot, you put the camera away, the lens has to go back in. And so I just realized that out of 100 shots, that lens goes out and in maybe 90, 95 times, which is just, you got to think that that's going to be a problem sooner or later. You got to think that that's going to be a drain on the battery. It's just an odd thing to have happen when you're trying to take a shot every 2 or 3, maybe 5 minutes. Okay, you don't want the lens going in, going out, turn the camera on, out, turn the camera off, comes back in, blah, 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 blah. You know that's going to burn battery power. And this thing does not have a lot of power. It's got a fairly small battery, and it barely will last long enough for a round. If you get past 9 holes and then you go into the back 9, you're doing pretty good. Even off a fresh charge, it's almost always going to start flashing lights or something saying that the battery's running out by the time you get to the 15th or 16th hole. So only playing 9 holes was not a problem, and I luckily was able to get, around without any real trouble with that regard. But the bigger problem is missing focus on shots. In 2022, taking pictures outside in broad daylight, you really don't want a camera that's going to miss focus on anything. Second thing is it has three different kind of focus modes aside from the continuous focus modes. I'm talking about the standard half press the shutter to get a focus thing. It's got a small center square, which you can technically move around and focus on other things beside the center of the shot. It has a larger focus square, and it also has a level, which is pretty cool. I definitely made use of that. So you get the shot more or less level without having to, having to go back and post and then go back and level it out and so forth. The other thing is that it has this multi-point focus mode where there's like a grid of 9 squares that you can get in your focus mode. And I found that to be almost as much of a problem as a solution, because it will near focus, and then you have the front part of the near part of the image in focus, but the back part is clearly out of focus or clearly borderline out of focus. And that just looks weird. I've never really liked using that 9-point focus for that reason. Or if I do use it, I have to move the camera and focus around so that I only get 2 or 3 points and they focus back in the corner. But if you use the square center point, I've consistently found that it will not focus on like the top of trees in the blue sky, which normally is what I use to focus on. It will focus 80, 90% of the time, but there's always going to be that 10% where it does not focus. And I'm not sure if what it is a luminance issue. Like when it does contrast detection, it's looking at a luminance difference between one part of the square and another part of the square, or if it's looking at a contrast in terms of color difference. But when you're out shooting in the broad daylight, the sky can be a very bright blue, right up near the top of the blue band, and then whatever's below that is still going to be bright, but it's not going to be necessarily the same color blue, but it'll still have some sky in it, because it's not like a solid thing. And this can get tricky when you're shooting into the sun. The camera's already being heavily saturated with daylight, and it's hard to see when this happens on a 3-inch screen. As a matter of fact, I would say consistently I've never really noticed it, even though I've seen it. I've always said you can tell that the autofocus was complaining a little bit on this particular shot. I had to take it 2 or 3 times, and you kind of can see it on a little 3-inch screen, but you can see it much better on a 45-inch monitor. Trust me, you can even see it pretty well on a 14 or 15-inch laptop monitor, but on a very large monitor, you have no problem seeing that the focus is soft. But the thing is that there are three types. There's good focus, there's not so good focus, and then there's bad focus. And the problem with not so good focus is it's not easy to distinguish not so good focus from just a basically not very good shot, not very good scene to take a picture of. So even though sometimes you could look at one of these shots, especially a raw shot where it's not sharpened, it can look like it's soft focus, but not. And you have to go through all the shots, go through all the shots one at a time, and you will see which ones are really not good focus, which ones are just not very much detail in the scene, which is one of the problems with shooting landscape shots, is you often have very fine detail and not a whole lot of it, but a bunch of sky and a bunch of grass in the foreground. And then there's the good shots where you go, oh, okay, so that is not just in focus, but it's actually looking pretty good. And the thing about this camera is it can produce some very good images, some very sharp, nicely detailed images, but it does require a good focus target to get it. And you have to be aware that it is going to misfocus on a few shots. If you take a shot that's too wide, where the subject matter is too far away and just doesn't give it a good focus, or it's too dark, and it's just wrong. And that is the painful part of using this camera. The RX100 M2, as opposed to the M4. M4 is a little bit different, but M2 definitely. On top of that, this is a camera that I got from a guy in Japan, which is, I can't change it to English language, and I'm fighting the menu system, which is a little bit counterintuitive already because it's just Sony, and then a fairly large part of the menus are in Japanese, and I'm just hoping that I didn't turn something on or something off that I shouldn't have turned on or off or whatever. And I'm just taking shots with it, kind of really hoping that they come out. So I'm not sure that it's set up the way I want it to be. But in general, it does seem to take good shots about 95% of the time. It only cost me $200 on eBay, and it's a small little thing. It's smaller. It's about the size of my credit card, but the thickness of maybe 2 packs of cards, one on top of the other. But it is just so convenient to carry on a course, as long as you have time to turn it on, wait for the lens to come out, frame your shot, set your speeds and everything, take the shot, put it away, and in play. As long as you have that much time, it works well. The problem is that time is roughly the same amount of time it would take me to pull a DSLR and a lens out of a bag, pull the lens cap off, take the shot, put it back, the lens cap back on the camera, and put it back in the bag. It's not a lot different in terms of time to shoot a DSLR than it is to shoot this camera. The big difference is, well, two things, obviously. One, I'm not going to swing a DSLR out in the center of the golf course. If I'm playing cart path only, the only shots I'm going to take with a DSLR are the ones near the cart. So if it's cart path only, I'm not going out there in the middle of the fairway with a DSLR. I might walk out 10 yards or something and take a shot, but I'm not going to walk all the way across the fairway or all the way into the center of the fairway with a DSLR. So that's one problem. The other thing is, obviously, I rarely am going to miss focus with a decent DSLR. Now, I'm sure that there's some exceptions, like a D3000 or some crappy autofocus system, a Rebel, you'll be lucky to get half your shots in focus with a Rebel. I'm not saying that it's impossible to get bad shots with a DSLR. It's far from it. What I'm saying is that the time to get good shots with a DSLR is roughly the same as the time to get good shots with this little mini, I would call it a mini subframe, really. It does take good pictures, and even if Sony has done this cook raw thing on it, it still takes shots that are easy to sharpen up. You can get really, really good results with this camera. It is not a bad camera at all. And I'm kind of hate the fact that it does occasionally blow focus. Even my cell phone doesn't blow focus this much. My cell phone rarely, if ever, blows focus. And when it does, it's certainly some really dark scene, that it might, it's the sun's down. I'm shooting in like the last bit of twilight or something, and it'll, soft focus that shot on top of shooting at ISO 200, on the top of having a lot of noise reduction. This camera does not have a lot of noise reduction, and it can shoot fairly decently in low light, but it just doesn't like to shoot on a bright background. I don't know exactly what it is. The sky can be too bright or something, and it just goes and just overloads. So I'm learning how to manage that particular case, but for the other 98% of the shots, it's fine. It's great. It doesn't have a lot of dynamic range. That's fine. You just have to undershoot it a little bit, underexpose it a little bit, make sure you don't blow out the highlights. But it does dress up well, clean it well or whatever in post. And I have no problem taking shots with it and using them in my videos, especially since the video codec seems to want to put more noise reduction in my shots and blur my shots anyway. Like I'll take shots that don't have any noise reduction, any blurring whatsoever, put them in 4K, put them in high quality, put them on YouTube, and sure enough, they'll have some blurred areas. And I expect that to happen when I put this one up as well. So that's 25 minutes, at least 21 minutes. And I apologize for the length, but as this is partially a camera review as much as a course review, I did want to be more specific about what it's like to take shots while playing golf with the Sony RX100 M2. It is a mixed bag, because trust me, it's just not fun to go out and take shots and come back and find that they're not in good focus.